Welcome to What's Working with Tampa Bay, the podcast where we explore business, education, and career opportunities in the region. This podcast is brought to you by CareerSource Tampa Bay, committed to advancing Florida's workforce and economy. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome back to What's Working with Tampa Bay. This is Doug Foresta, and with me today, I want to introduce you to Byron Clayton, and he is the Chief of Community and Talent Development for CareerSource Tampa Bay. We're going to talk about that position, what that entails, learn a little bit about Byron and what brought him to this role and what he's going to be doing. So, Byron Clayton, welcome to the program. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Doug. Happy to be here.
Thanks. So, before I ask you, what is the Chief of Community and Talent Development? Tell us a little bit about your background. Do you have a background in workforce development? What brought you to this role?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because my background, I spent 30 years or so in the private sector, mostly in technology innovation. So robotics, artificial intelligence, manufacturing automation, software, those types of things, right? But here's the thing: when you're in those kind of areas, it's all about technology adoption. And you can't adopt technology without talent. And so my background, even though it's focused on technology innovation, there was always an aspect of workforce and talent, finding talent and developing talent that was a crucial part of what I did. And so as I rose the ladder and got into positions where I was either the president or CEO, the workforce shortage problem, the skills gap, all the things you hear about, those were things that really kept me up at night. So I spent a lot of time really focused on how to overcome those issues. And then about, 12 years ago or so, I decided to get an economic development to focus more time on workforce.
So that's, and I want to dig in more to that in a little bit about especially now, I think more than ever, the talent issue is, like you said, you can't have innovation without talent. You really can't have much of anything, we're right. Even looking at, when you just go out places as a consumer, you try to order things, it's very difficult because there's backlogs and everything because of talent issues. So say a little bit, though, before we get into that conversation, say a little bit about your position as the Chief of Community and Talent Development. So in that role, what are the kinds of things that you'll be doing?
Yeah. So the best way to think about my role, there's two sides of it, right? So the first side, the first focus for me is to really help employers to find or develop programs where they can grow their own talent. So we just talked about the skills gap. And everybody knows at this point that there are so many companies out there that are really struggling to find candidates with the skills and experience that they need, right? And these are, the opportunities that are out there for some amazing jobs. I mean, these are in-demand, livable wage jobs with some incredibly bright futures to them, right? They're upwardly mobile jobs, but they can't find people to really step into those roles. So the next best thing, if you can't find people, grow your own. So I'm going to be working with employers around the region to really help them grow their own talent and specifically to develop or find the programs to help them do that. The other side of my role, of course, is to connect diverse talent populations to those programs and to those career opportunities. So a lot of these career opportunities are things that people never have heard of before, right? Or not familiar with. It's my job to help get that awareness out there so they not only know what these opportunities are, but they also know what's the pathway for me to capture, one of those opportunities and to enter into that career path. So we're going to be working with people on career discovery, career planning, and also what I call career entry.
Yeah, I've heard the term, you have to see it to be it kind of thing. And I would imagine, right, that's part of the issue too, right? Certain populations, you may not even, like you said, people don't even realize that these are really great jobs. They're really great career pathways because, for example, I just think of what people get exposed to, right? Like most of us get exposed to like firefighters and doctors and nurses and things like that, but we don't always get exposed to maybe like, IT profession, right? I may not
Right.
know someone in the IT profession, and then it's hard for me to imagine myself or even know what that is, right? If I've not been exposed to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are things that I focused on here in this region, for instance, like a medical lab technologist, right?
Yeah.
Who ever heard of that, right?
Right.
You don't grow up saying, I'm going to be a medical lab technologist. But yet there's a huge shortage of people in this occupation in this area, and so it's a great opportunity. There are other things, right? You've heard about manufacturing, like CNC machinists.
Right.
That's a great opportunity for people. Livable wage, in demand. I was talking to someone a couple of months ago who runs a program, and they were saying people are getting jobs as CNC machinists before he can graduate them, right? So, I mean, there's so many opportunities out there and so many people looking for work. All I really want to do is connect the two.
Yep, that connecting talent to opportunity. So talk a little bit. You've been on the job now for how long in this
Oh,
in this
2
position?
weeks, man.
Two weeks.
I'm a veteran.
Talk a little bit about what it's like. I'm really curious. I mean, you have such a crucial, important role to play, not just for CareerSource Tampa Bay, but for the community. Really, for the community, for the business community, for the community at large. Talk about what it's like to start a role like that at this time. I'm just curious about sort of like this moment that we have where it's hard to say where we are in the COVID journey, but clearly people are coming back to work. Yeah, I guess that's really the thing I would love to hear from you. What is it like to do this at this moment in history?
Yeah, this is the perfect time to be doing this
Yeah,
because we've had a big disruption,
yeah,
and it's helped employers to understand that you know their ability to attract and train and retain talent is a competitive advantage. And so when you right now there's so many of these employers struggling to find people that they're looking to think out of the box. And then conversely, we've got job seekers that are out there right now, even people that are working who either were laid off at some point, their job was threatened, they knew people who were laid off, or even if they just start thinking about, man, I'm really vulnerable. What can I do to create as many options for myself and my family as I can? So you get both sides of the equation now, really thinking about their futures and how to make their future better, right? So this is the perfect time to be doing this because a lot of this is you got to think a little bit differently, right? Employers have to think a little bit differently about who and how they hire. And then job seekers and workers need to think a little bit differently about, what are some of the opportunities out there and how can I get from where I am today to capture one of those opportunities?
yeah. I love the way you frame that because, sure, it's been very difficult. There's no question about it. But I agree with you. There is these times of disruption are often the most exciting
Right.
times. If we look back, I mean, I think about imagine all those people during like the moving from farms to the industrial revolution. I mean, we learn about that in history books, but people had to do that, right? And
Yes.
and you had to move people from from a background of really working on farms and knowing that world to moving them to doing this. And I think what we're going through is no less. I mean, I'm curious what you think about this, but I think what we're going through is really no less of a shift in terms of what's going to be happening in the marketplace of jobs and businesses.
Oh, it's a huge shift right now, specifically because the speed of business and the speed of technology, things are moving so fast. I mean, it's scary in that it's hard to keep up with some of the technology and some of the things that are happening. But with that also brings opportunity because if you're willing to learn, um, the world is your oyster, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that open up for you, and specifically, for people out there in the workforce, if you start to learn and upskill and find new skills and develop new skills, you become so valuable to these companies that have to move at the speed of light. Because the bottom line is, can you help them grow? Can you help them adapt new things, new processes, new ways of doing things? If you can, you're like gold to them.
Yeah, what a wonderful opportunity. So with that, I mean, I can tell, I think it's a great background, as you described, like I think your background makes perfect sense. Again, not just, I think at any time you would have been a great person to fill this position, but especially now that that you're absolutely right. Technology is moving faster than ever in business, and we have to keep up, and we need talent to be innovative. I guess I just want to leave you with sort of last words. Maybe we'll start with, you kind of shared about, for job seekers, go upskill, I think is a clear message. How about for businesses that are, a lot of businesses are trying to find talent. What message would you have for businesses and the business community of the region?
Yeah, the biggest message is that there's an incredible amount of talent out there. And for people that know me, I have a saying about hiring for potential. Look for the potential in people, because if you hire the right person and you train that person up, they can become the rock stars for you in the future, right? So, I mean, I know that it's very tempting to go out and just hire somebody that, has been doing the same job for 20 years, and you just hire them in, they step right in. You can't find those people. They're very hard to find now. So hire for potential, find those gems, and then put the programs in place to train those people up. Not only will they do a better job, but they're more likely to stay with your company, which is huge, right? They'll stay with your company, continue to contribute, and become that competitive advantage that you're looking for.
And if you're listening to this, you're thinking, well, how do I find those programs to do that? Oh, by the way, CareerSource Tampa Bay has the resources to do that, correct?
Yes.
That's something that we can help people with.
Well, and that's my role. Specifically my role is to put in the processes and the tools to make this easy for both sides, right? Make it easier for residents to find these new careers, plan out how they get to those career opportunities, and then enter into those careers. On the employer side, make it very easy for them to identify candidate pools, with this high potential, and to put the programs in place so they can train people up to enter into those take those in-demand jobs that they're suffering to find people for now.
Well, I can tell that, I love your enthusiasm and your passion and your excitement and the experience that you bring. You're clearly the right person at the right time for this. CareerSource Tampa Bay is clearly lucky to have you. I think the community will definitely feel the same way. Byron Clayton, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for sharing your words of wisdom. I look forward, would love to have you come back in the future after more than 2 weeks. We'll talk about, the evolution of how things are going. But thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Doug. And yeah, I'd love to come back and bring some success stories with me.
Amen. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to an episode of What's Working with Tampa Bay, brought to you by CareerSource Tampa Bay. To learn more, visit www.careersourcetampabay.com. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you consume your audio to make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.